Welcome to Geraldo at Large. Geraldo has the night off. We begin with immigration. Arizona's controversial law is set to go into effect this week. That is, unless federal Judge Susan Bolton stops it. Both sides of the issue were in Judge Bolton's courtroom on Thursday, arguing several lawsuits that question the constitutionality of the law. Even though some members of the same party, the Republicans, don't always agree when it comes to immigration.
Our borders need to be secure. The federal government has reneged on their obligation to do that.
I believe that it was a well-prepared presentation of where Arizona is going and the direction of which we want to take our state in regards to the protection of the citizens of Arizona. And I am very confident that Arizona will prevail.
Listen, this issue is a federal issue that should be handled by the feds and should be fixed finally. So the president and the Congress have to step up to the plate. They have to secure our borders, and they have to put forward a common sense path to citizenship for people. I think there's been, folks who have been all over the map on this issue, and candidly, I don't think there's one general Republican position.
Joining me now from Tucson, Arizona, is Co-Chief County Sheriff Larry Deaver. From Dallas, Texas, Attorney Clint David. And here in studio is former INS agent Michael Cutler. Welcome, gentlemen. I'm going to start with the sheriff. Sheriff, you're in Cochise County. You are in Arizona. You are closest to this issue. There are people who say that crime is down on the border. There are people who say crime is up. Can you give us a straight answer?
Well, you have to be very careful about equating crime rates with the impact of criminal activity on the border. Those who cite crime rates being down have carefully avoided that. What's going on as far as border crime continues to be very significant. But the important thing to understand is that there continues, just like in the Gulf with the oil spill, to be a very porous border. And those that are spilling across, there's a significant number, 17% in fact, of those that are caught have serious criminal records already in this country. And what we don't know in addition to that is how many people have serious criminal records in their countries of origin, in their homeland. So we know there's a very significant criminal element that's mixed in with all those that are seeking work or have other purposes.
So, Sheriff, what you're saying is that 17% of them already have convictions for serious crimes in this country. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Well, then let me ask you this. When that happens, is INS or ICE today, are they assisting in the deportation of those individuals who are here illegally and have been convicted of serious crimes? What's your experience been?
Yeah, they do that, and they do a pretty good job of dealing with that specific element. But again, they live underground for the most part, and often just go about their criminal enterprise without being detected. But they have been convicted or charged and have active warrants for them and been deported. And while the numbers of overall of total illegal aliens that are being captured is down, the percentage of criminal aliens has been growing and increasing. So that tells us that they're still coming no matter what.
Well, there's no question. Do you have any estimate of how many are coming through your county on a monthly basis? Do you have any way to identify those numbers?
We're one of 3 counties part of the Tucson sector of the Border Patrol. Last year they apprehended 250,000 people, and they estimate anywhere from they catch 1 in 3 to 1 in 10, just depending on what kind of day it is. Wow. So you can do the math. It's still a huge tens of thousands every month, every day are pouring across here.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about the lawsuit now, but first, Michael, let me ask you this: has your experience with ICE? I mean, you were a senior INS agent.
Yes.
Is what the sheriff's saying correct, that they assist in deporting those people, and yet they're still in this country?
Look, they have tremendous lack of resources. Right now, from within the interior, we've got about 6,000 ICE agents for the whole country. Half of them are doing customs work, not even immigration work. Put that into proportion. New York is the safest big city with about 35,000 police officers just for the city of New York. So we have very few agents for the whole country. Once you get past the border, you're basically home free if you're an illegal alien. In fact, I helped Al D'Amato write the law to make it a 20-year felony for criminal aliens to get deported and come back. But apparently they are coming back. They're not being deterred because they know that there's very little chance, as the sheriff says, they're being caught and
accept the risk. They accept the risk. All right, I'm going to go to our attorney here, Clint David. Clint, let me ask you this. They went into court last Thursday to try to stop the actual enforcement of the law that goes into effect on Thursday. The curious thing, Clint, is that, and by the way, you're from Texas, and I'm curious to hear your take on this, but you not only think the lawsuit is a good idea, but the Justice Department is not suing on equal protection grounds. Instead, well, that suggests that, you know, the lawyers have concluded that there's nothing in the Arizona law that suggests that should raise concerns, but rather they're suing on the preemption supremacy clause grounds. Why do you think that is?
Well, that's right. Well, first of all, let me say this. I mean, I'm not just a do-gooder from an ivory tower. I am from Texas, as you mentioned. I'm fourth generation Dallas. I do understand this from an emotional point of view and a humanitarian point of view. But I will say that if they allow Arizona to have enforcement of its own immigration laws, and other states are lining up to do the very same thing, I think that chaos is going to reign supreme.
Well, let
the
me ask
Department
you
of
this.
Justice had to file this lawsuit.
Clint,
yeah.
let me ask you this. If the Arizona law is essentially the same as the federal law, but instead has more protections and more safeguards, and in fact the feds can do a stop of someone they suspect is illegal, not based on probable cause, whereas in Arizona they need to, and the feds don't need reasonable suspicion to request information, whereas Arizona does. Doesn't it seem like Arizona has more protections than the feds?
Well, by definition, they probably do, but the problem you're going to have is if one state does it and then the other 49 do it, you've got all these states enforcing all of these different laws. I think the bottom line is the DOJ had to file this suit. The law is unconstitutional. As you mentioned, under the Supremacy Clause, I believe the court is going to rule that the purview is in the federal, not the state laws, to enforce immigration, and you're going to have selective enforcement, and I think you're going to have racial profiling by definition.
The only problem is, I want to thank everyone here, the only problem is that unless there is an actual racial profiling, that the courts have held that the Supremacy Clause doesn't interfere with some of that.
How about the sanctuary cities not being charged with
All right, got to wrap.